The forecast, since we discussed tokenization over the last years, always there were statistics, and don't believe any further statistics you have not falsified yourself. So I think it's a high expectation. But the grounding is quite quick, because first of all, if you create or want to tokenize something, which I fully support, it's a brilliant market, it could be a huge market, but the first edge I'm coming to is at least that it's a security in most of the cases, and then have a regulatory impact, and a lot of parts in the world are not allowing it in a proper way. And the second thing is tokenization. If I have not a separated or isolated project, then at least it needs the mass adoption. And this means I need wallet accesses, platforms which really allow everybody to be part of it. And this is the second part which is missing, to give token an added value. The problem is a lot of people want to tokenize something and there's no added value, because they could also buy shares, or they could also become member, and don't need a tokenization. So tokenization has to be, like you said, sexy, and very sexy and attractive, but therefore we need the regulation freedom and the wallet. As soon as it comes up, our curve goes up, and then the figures are real, like people talking about 200,000 for the Bitcoin, but first the place, the fundament must be there, and as long as it's not there, the figure is just a nice figure. Somebody wants to make a nice statistic, then get some followers.
Please, you actually touched one of the last questions, like what are the obstacles of the tokenization? Guys, you could elaborate on those. Do you believe in the size of the market? What's your forecast and the obstacles that you see?
I mean, I'm looking at the 2023 numbers, if anybody is interested. So tokenized commodities 1.1 billion, tokenized securities 370 million, tokenized real estate 160 million, and of course the largest is the credit, 6.5 billion. And yeah, the conclusion, of course, is that the largest is the securities, but there are a lot of hurdles that I guess we're going to talk about. If securities are tokenized, it can be up to $14 trillion US.
That's so true. Okay.
Meme coins in the market. Why are people buying meme coins? Why is there a price of it? Why is there a price of culture? How do you buy culture, right? There's buy meme coins, and to that, like the internet, right? All these big companies, from Microsoft to Apple to the big tech, we're all surprised how big, $1 trillion market cap, how big they've grown. And I think tokenization is going to surprise a lot of people. Like, it's not just about securities, but it's going to tokenize everything, like from security to painting to sexual energy, as you have mentioned, everything, right? And that is not a question of I like to say this. It's not if, it's actually when, right?
I really love your inputs about the obstacles, but let's say holding up the scaling of the market, as the privately issued CBDCs, when they will be there. All the settlement on chain is one of our dreams, all of us, I guess. And also, in my opinion, is the secondary market. As far as I know, and you can correct me, guys, what do you know about the secondary market for security tokens? Because mainly all of the use cases, most of the use cases for the tokenization of real world assets is nothing but good old securitization as we know it. And then of course you have a question about the depository and actually the secondary market, the secondary trading. We have SDX, we have maybe Taurus who has the licenses, we have DLT pilot regime, which is there, but the trading facilities are not there. And we have a bunch of let's say exchanges in the gray area, Bermuda, Bahama, whichever you name. And guys, if you know of any other secondary trading platforms, regulated secondary trading platforms, they would be really helpful if you could add it to the picture. But I believe this is also one of the obstacles which is really holding up security token offerings, tokenization of real world assets from really scaling. What can be tokenized and what kind of use cases you have seen so far, part of sexuality. Sorry, you mentioned that one and just keep on mentioning it. What have you seen so far, and what are the assets which have the most potential? Where is the biggest market, in your opinion? I don't know, real estate, physical art, digital art, you name it. What's your opinion on what are the assets which can be tokenized, and where is the biggest market? What's the most attractive for the next move?
So yeah, I mean, everything can be tokenized, right? So as we have learned today, and also previously, But if you look at characteristics of assets, like where it would make sense to tokenize things is like where you have high value or a high investment threshold of the assets. For example, real estate or art and collectibles, or bonds is like not something that is accessible to retail investor as such in an easy way. We have illiquid assets such as art and collectibles, where it would make sense to tokenize things. You have everywhere where you need some authenticity, where there are efficiencies or inefficiencies in place right now today. So if you look, I'm just taking bonds as an example because we're active in the space. So if you look at the traditional finance bond issuance and like settlement, you need up to 13 intermediaries. You have the financial market infrastructure, you have all the paying agents, issuing agents, law firms, custody banks, and all this type of players, right? There, it just makes sense to disrupt these models and bring in the efficiencies that technology allows us to do, right? So yeah, it's about bonds, it's about stocks, where it makes sense to tokenize things. So yeah, real estate, bonds, in my opinion, capital market instruments, and art. And
it's interesting for you.
I think for me, tokenization is a term we use very freely. Like a friend. I'm a friend of yours, but you just name drop it. Right? And I think what's really interesting is, what do we exactly solve with tokenization? In our case, in OpenEden, we created an on-chain vault based on EIP 4626, and that's really interesting because if you subscribe to a US mutual fund, like let's just say Fidelity or BlackRock, you have to, on board, you have to wire US dollars, and you have to wait for T+1, your third-party agent, registry, blah blah. But with OpenEden, in our case, you're literally streamlining that process, cutting off all those different intermediaries, and that's really the beauty of tokenization. You are actually not adding layers of complexity, layers of cost, layers of additional risk, but reducing all of that in a very streamlined, peer-to-peer fashion, powered by blockchain and smart contract technologies, which we are also interested. And beyond that big number, like, hey, it could be $1 billion, it could be the biggest opportunity. The biggest opportunity set, I think, and as well as, feel free to debate and argue with me, but it has to be something that's easily understood by people today. If you're tokenizing a private credit fund or a real estate, like, how do these guys know? Like, you have additional issuer risk, you have to understand the underlying instrument, you have to be really good in risk management, really good in analysis, and it has to be something simple, and that's why at OpenEden we focus on US Treasury market. If you don't trust the US government, then hey, we have bigger problems, which I think we do, which is why we're all here. But it's the biggest bond market. It's literally the risk-free rate in the world, which is any mom and pop, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, they all understand what US Treasury bill, right? It's the full faith and confidence of the US government. So we need to tokenize something that's easily understood, that people may not argue, hey, is this issuer reliable? What's his track record? No, it's the US government. There is no questions asked. But what's more important is the legal structuring. How does the issuer actually structure and pass through the legal rights, the claim on those rights, the subordination deed, and the yield? And those is, in my opinion, more pertinent to how we assess. In today's market, there is a lot of guys like me trying to tokenize US Treasury market, but that's like stablecoin. Everybody say you are stablecoin, but let's be honest. I would say most stablecoins are not stable. Just because somebody said that tokenized US money market fund, it isn't really a US money market fund. It could be a lending collateral arrangement. It could be a lending borrowing where it doesn't really give you the ownership rights. But what's more important is that we here today understand the risks of the spectrum, and understand what we're investing in, what's the promise of this technology, and then we're able to really address what's the biggest opportunity. In our case, it's Treasury bills. And Treasury bills is a massive market. It's a trillions of dollars. It's a 28 trillion. I'm losing count. It's a massive market. Overnight turnover volume is $400 billion. $400 billion is a $29, $30 trillion market. And that itself is a great opportunity. And why? Because we have clients in Turkey, we have clients in Portugal, we have clients even in Asia where they cannot access US Treasury bills, and that's such a simple product, but yet their governments, for obvious reasons, are not allowing access, which, clearly why, which is why we're very focused on T-bills today.
Okay, that's an interesting use case, tokenizing, let's say, existing securities which are just not accessible to certain target audiences. And Alex, you had a use case about real estate.
Just to visualize it, and I'm going to simplify a little bit. So imagine Davos. Imagine I'm just walking, over the promenade. I see this Belvedere, and I believe in the fantastic model of Belvedere because they're making so much money during Davos. There is no way you're going to buy part of Belvedere, but imagine if it's tokenized and you can take your phone and push the button, geolocation, Belvedere, and get 0.0001%. You can do it across the world. Of course, it's not possible today. Tons of legal challenges, cross-border harmonization issues. But this is like, if we're picking long term, that can be the future. That in your portfolio on the phone, you can just buy any real estate in the world. What we do practically today is we're helping folks from Argentina. That's a very focused, business model where there is a crazy inflation to protect their savings by buying real estate in Miami. So again, very focused model. So Argentina, I buy stake in the property, and my $1,000 to $5,000, are protected against inflation, linked to the dollar, essentially linked to the growth of the Miami marketplace, where I might also move one day. So that's a very practical and very visual and simple business model.
I would like to add to your tokenization. Don't forget services. All kind of services can be tokenized and give you the access as an individual person to participate in business processes which you're normally not in, or which normally cannot be part of it because you don't have the full volume. So this is for me another topic. And to give a little bit of general guideline, I think if you don't want to attract only funds or financial institutions on this tokenization, if you really want to go out and get a little bit more, the first thing is it should be a tokenization which fits to your behavior. So if we are all here, and you mentioned the soul of blockchain in a decentralized world, an individual world, it's very good that we give tokenization where you can fill up your portfolio with these tokens. But it doesn't fit to that if we think that the combination with the central currencies which are coming now out help for it, because then you give away your freedom, because there you have due dates on the money. You have ranges of the money which can be controlled, and this people don't want to. So this is another topic where I don't think that people will be attracted if we have any direct relation to it. And the next one is the general rule in all businesses, game and bread and games. So for people, if you really want to go out, we have to think what they want. So I took some advice on top projects to say, give them something at the end, physical, which they can hang up at the home, or which they can collect, which is tangible. Because here all the nerds with the phones in the rows, you're fine with your phones, but a lot of people are not fine with it. They want, if they invest in something, want to feel something. And if you don't give them the feeling that they have a part of anything, and maybe best to document it, then you will fail. But if you give this combination between real world and tokenization, fun, bread and games, then a lot of people will go for it. And I think these are the criteria you should go if you want to do a new tokenization project.